Perfect.
Whoa. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me. What an important topic this is, particularly, I know, something that Rise puts at the heart of a lot of their agendas, that idea that technology has to be responsible. And we've got a fantastic panel today, an opportunity to discuss some of those great opportunities, but also the risks that technology brings. Some of you I know I had the opportunity to have an exclusive screening of The Searching. Has anyone, hands up if you managed to see the film? Great.
A couple of people.
Good.
Nice.
For those that you didn't, here is the trailer.
Let's take a picture. 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna watch the audience.
Hey, sweetheart. Where are you?
Study group, as you get back.
Great. Oh, one more thing. I want to know about the final you took today.
Leave me a message or text me back.
Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in because it looks like you already left for school this morning. Hey, Margot. Dad again. Why did you leave your laptop at home? I haven't been able to reach Margot.
Wait, you can't find Margot?
Study group only went till 9.
She said it was going all night.
No, she definitely left at 9.
Authorities are asking anyone with information to please call the hotline or 911 immediately.
Update me whenever you learn something.
Did she mention anything unusual going on lately?
We're not really that close.
But you guys are friends.
Kind of.
She has friends, right?
She keeps to herself a lot.
She's quiet.
I did see her eat lunch alone.
On Thursday?
Every day.
She made an outgoing transaction of $2,500.
Margot picked up an ID a few days ago.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's time to start considering that Margot ran away.
I know my daughter. She did not run away.
This is it. Best place in the world to do nothing.
This is her keychain. You told me she ran away?
The vehicle was discovered late last night.
$2,500 in cash was found.
Something doesn't add up.
Has anyone considered that it was an absolute stranger?
You can't see things clearly.
All I'm trying to do is to help you find my daughter.
We need nothing from you.
Where were you the night my daughter went missing?
Wow. So I managed to watch the whole thing and I was hooked right until the end. Really gripping stuff. So let's get straight into the discussion. Aneesh, I want to ask you a little bit about actually your background and how that influenced the way you decided to tell the story.
Yeah. First of all, hey guys, I'm Aneesh. I'm the co-writer and director of the movie. So I used to work at Google, which is sort of the background to all of this thing. So I used to work at Creative Lab at Google, if any of you guys are familiar with it. It's a department of Google that's creative. And I used to work specifically in their advertising arm, so I was writing, developing, and directing commercials there for a couple of years. A lot of Google commercials, their whole objective is to sort of like take technology and frame it in a very narrative device and to make it feel emotional and stuff. So really it was at Google and it was at the Creative Lab with my bosses where, you know, I learned that you don't need to necessarily see someone's face or show an establishing shot or a reaction shot to make people feel. You know, you could just show a search bar and still make someone cry if you move the mouse the right way, or make someone afraid if the cursor starts like loading too long at the right spot. So I think like learning that it is still possible to feel the way that you feel in a normal movie with normal parameters, except with totally unconventional parameters, was a really, really exciting thing there. And basically, I stole everything that I learned and applied it directly to this movie.
From Google.
From Google, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And out of interest, have you had any calls from your former colleagues? And
Yeah.
what's the reaction been?
I showed it to them actually last month in New York, and basically told them, like, these are all the things that I stole from you and that you'll never be able to do again in a commercial. No, they were very proud. You know, again, I kept crediting them for teaching me so much. So they're very, very proud and very happy. And they play the trailer now in the background of The Office all the time. It's just on a loop.
Fantastic.
But it's muted, because that would get annoying over time.
And no luck with getting one of those Google Doodles for the film yet, you know, on the homepage?
Yeah.
You don't have that much influence?
I do not have that much influence.
Okay.
But that's a great idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
If anyone's here from Google,
From the
let's
Doodle
meet.
team, yeah.
And Seb, we've never been, as a society, more connected to our devices. Why did you feel that this story needed to be told, and particularly now?
So, I mean, the quick background and how it all came together, which should answer your question, is Aneesh and I, being writing partners, I co-wrote the script with them and I produced it. We had an opportunity with the production company that had made a film on a computer screen previously called Unfriended. And they were interested in Aneesh and I pitching them a short film that would take place on devices. So we thought of Searching as a short film, 8 minutes, and we presented it to them. And, you know, initially we were worried that they wanted us to make it into a feature, which we were not interested in doing that because, you know, who would want to make a whole movie on a computer screen,
real
right?
movie, you know?
Exactly. So we went and we pitched the short film to them. And they said that they didn't want to make it as a short, that they'd rather make it as a movie, that they would want me to produce it, Aneesh to direct it, for both of us to write it, and they were willing to give us a lot of money to do that. I imagine you guys have probably gone out there to try and raise money yourselves. And so when they asked us if we wanted to do that, Aneesh's response was
No. Which was the weirdest thing I've ever said. Like, it was an instinctual reaction, because, like, no first-time filmmaker ever in the history of filmmakers ever gets offered money to say, hey, here's all of the creative freedom and the money to make a movie. But in the moment, it felt like what we would be doing would be taking a concept that we were only being asked to make because another movie was a hit or because we could, as opposed to it actually having, like, artistic merit. And we watched a lot of these movies that took place on screens, and nothing ever felt cinematic or emotional or engaging. And for us, if we were to ever do this movie, it needed to be all three of those things at the very least. And then one day, about a month and a half later, Seb texts me and saying, I have an idea for an opening scene. And then I text him back and, like, I have an idea for an opening scene. And we call each other up and we pitch each other the exact same opening scene, which for the 4 of you guys who raised your hands in the audience who saw the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But for the rest of you guys, it's a very, very specific scene that is, like, shows completely how emotional and engaging and cinematic the movie can be. And all of a sudden, it felt like we had an opportunity to make a movie that felt like nobody had seen before. And so I basically quit that job at Google, moved back to LA, and we started work on that movie.
Wow. And I know, Seb, the excitement is just it's coming out of you, isn't it? You're so excited about this, and it was a great
Absolutely.
opportunity. Natalie, what has the reaction been so far to this? Because it is unique, isn't it?
Yes. Well, the expectation started here. It's like people are like, a movie on a computer screen, how do you do that? But the reaction has been huge, and it's been so rewarding for us because we made the movie for not that much money and with very few people, much like a startup. And
yeah.
Basically, you know, the three of us, we shot the film in 13 days. And again, for those of you that have seen it, there's, you know, and you guys have just seen the trailer, there's some stunts and there's like car chases and some big set pieces, but we had 13 days to shoot it, which is not very much. And then we spent a year in post-production, basically the three of us and our 2 incredible editors. And so to go from, you know, just a tiny edit room and then to take it to Sundance where we had our world premiere and just to get the response that we did in that theater, let alone to have Sony come up and buy the movie literally, what was it, like 12 hours later? We were like
it was a
up
dream come
all
true.
night. Yeah, it's been incredible. You know, like as independent filmmakers, this is the dream to have the cast that we got and you know, to work with incredible collaborators. And now the movie's going to be like all over the world. It's completely mind-blowing to us. Yeah. It's insane.
Well, let's speak to some of that amazing cast. And John, let's start with you. You play this father who actually is quite tech-savvy compared to some fathers. I think the only thing that you didn't know was Tumblr, but I'm sure we could forgive you for that. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like playing that character, and particularly a father who discovers a lot that he didn't know about his daughter?
I suppose it was kind of, it was easy for me to relate. I have children of my own. They're not quite old enough to be on social media, but with my 10-year-old, I can already sort of feel him individuating himself and trying to distance himself from me. And so, the nightmare is you don't know your daughter. And I think the double tragedy in this movie is he discovers that his daughter is physically missing and then is compelled to go into her computer to look for clues. And when he gets into her computer and starts investigating who she is, discovers that she was gone long before she was physically gone. And so I think that's the emotional crux of the movie, and I think it's something that all parents can relate to. Like, who is this person in your house? Sometimes with teenagers, it's a genuine mystery.
What are you hoping, parents in the audience and parents watching this, and maybe even teens as well, what are you hoping they will take away from this?
I suppose first and foremost, this is a thriller, and it's why I signed on to do it. And I didn't have any interest particularly in accomplishing and breaking new ground in cinema, which is what this team ended up doing. It was the script first and foremost in the story. If that didn't work, if the emotional through line wasn't there, I don't think the movie works at all. Then it's a gimmick. But it was a story of a father or family trying to become whole again that was interesting. Then the challenge was, can we do it in this new format?
Michelle, you played the teenage daughter, Margot. What did you think of the particular format and the way it was shot? I saw some interviews where you talked about how you felt really even more so connected to the character as a result.
Yeah, it's funny because it's not a traditional acting experience. We shot this movie on all the technological devices that we use on a daily basis. iPhones, laptops, GoPros, you name it. But I think it really helped me to stay present, and it was intuitive for me. It was a challenge, but it was fun, and it was different, and it had never been done before, so it was really cool to be a part of this movie.
And why do you think that teenagers find it easier to perhaps connect online with their friends and their peers than they do with their families? What is it about being online?
Well, I think teens in general, just the thing they care most about is friends. And if you've ever been a teenager, you know that you don't tell your parents everything. So it just translates to the way we live. Technology is such a vital part of our lives that we are going to try to engage our friends. We're gonna use this extension of our lives, extension of our recess, extension of our work to try to engage our friends, and that's why a lot of Margot's expression goes to the internet.
Can I just say something? To some extent, I hope that you halfway through the movie, or really 8 minutes in, you forget that the movie is taking place on an iPhone or a laptop. That the story should be working at that point, and really the accomplishment of the movie is just an admission that we're living our lives inside these devices, and it becomes a modern filmmaking conundrum is we are. I see so many of you holding up phones, and you might be communicating with someone right now, and rather than in storytelling, so many of these events were in person. You would shoot two people talking, and now those conversations are increasingly taking place within the machines that you're holding in your hand. And so, how do you dramatize that? And we've been working on it. I mean, Hollywood has been a little ham-fisted trying to do it for a couple of decades now. I was just watching You've Got Mail, and they're messaging each other and saying what they're typing. If we would meet at the corner of, and it rings false. And you know, this movie's breakthrough is going into the device itself, but paradoxically, you should be forgetting that very quickly.
I think one of the things that most attracted me to this movie, having worked at still working at a non-profit that looks at the issues around online safety, but also around issues around bullying, which, you know, is one of those things that comes in isolation and maybe even loneliness. That's really, really powerful that those came across in this film. Why do you think it is important that films like this do explore these issues that affect so many, not just teens, but adults now as a result of being connected?
I mean, I could talk about when we were writing the script, you know, we had the idea that it's going to be about a father searching for his missing daughter. And I think early on we were trying to come up with, like, okay, but where's Margot? Like, what's the ending of our movie? We thought of, like, some really, you know, and I won't spoil the movie, but, like, we thought of some really out there ideas. Maybe there's a cult involved. Maybe she joined a gang, whatever. But ultimately we realized that this movie's only going to work if it's grounded. If it's, like, true to the life that we're all living today. John mentioned it perfectly. We do really live our lives on screens, as evidenced by everyone here. And we ultimately realized that, you know, that lends itself to stories about teenagers, and how, I think John says this really well earlier, that back in the day, these parents used to be worried about their children, you know, leaving the home, the safety of their home, and going into the woods or meeting strangers, and you know, they'd be like, stay home, be safe with us. And in the world we live in today, like, kids can be home, but that doesn't mean that there's no danger, because the stranger's in the home right now, right? As you mentioned, like with bullying and things like that happen online. And for us, as we were trying to come up with a way to make this movie both thrilling and gripping, but also emotional and grounded, it made sense to just insert the truth into the film.
The film's posture towards technology is rather agnostic. It's not explicitly a cautionary tale, but what, you know, it is, technology is what you use it for, and it's how you wield it. However, what it does admit, and this is to your point about things like online bullying, is, you know, before you were worried about the stranger around the corner, but now your child has access to every stranger in the world through this phone, and can get lost in any set of woods in the world. And so the stakes are higher because everything is just exponentially larger. And I think that we have to, I mean, we as a species are compelled to think ethically, to think through ethical solutions to protect our children, because, like I said, there are monsters everywhere, and now they all can get into your child's bedroom, theoretically.
Yeah,
yikes. Yikes. I just freaked myself out.
And I know growing up, you know, I grew up in sort of the MySpace days, which is one of the reasons why my mum gets confused and calls Facebook my face. But Natalie, do you think actually... That's
amazing.
Watching this film...
Freudian slip.
Do you think parents are actually going to learn quite a lot? I mean, some of the things that the father was able to do, I thought was actually really valuable as a parent.
Sorry, was the question, are parents going
to... Yeah, because you actually learn a little bit about technology, don't you?
My grandma has seen the movie. She uses Facebook a little bit, and she completely, or at least she claims she completely followed along. So I think what, you know, these guys did so incredibly with the script, and, you know, Aneesh with the execution, it's really, you know, at the end of the day, it's a story about a family and about a father and a daughter. And we really went out of our way to make it universal in the presentation. So whether or not you're familiar with, you know, any of the tech within it, it's told in a way that brings you into the story and you're able to follow along. And any of the tech that, I won't spoil it, that people are unfamiliar with, I think David in the film, John Cho's character, is also somewhat unfamiliar with. So you discover it through his eyes, and by way of doing that, we're explaining it to the audience. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll make sense for everyone.
You know, Aneesh and I, we were saying that the movie would not have worked maybe even 10 years ago, whereas we've hit this critical mass moment where I feel like our parents can see it and understand it. Maybe 10 years ago they wouldn't have been able to. The vocabulary wouldn't have had that meaning for them, but we're there. I mean, and it was surprising to me to watch the movie and realize how much the language of technology has been embedded within me. You know, how much these sounds and these images and there is a kind of choreography to a cursor that I didn't realize I had absorbed. You know.
Great, and a question to all of you now. We've got some fantastic startups and tech companies in the room. What would be your sort of message to them, and what are you hoping is their reaction?
Well, the reaction is easy. I hope you guys like it. That's number one. But no, I mean, I think to explain why we kind of came here to Rise specifically, I want to explain the kind of messaging behind the movie. And for us, one of the big reasons we made the movie is I think movies and Hollywood messes up technology so much, so consistently, that it's just always when is the last time you looked at anything that you saw online where they pulled out a phone where the UI of that phone was accurate to the way that you use your phone today? Or the same that or a website or a laptop or a computer. It's never UX and UI is just so messed up on these movies that immediately there's a disconnect. And for us, from the beginning, we wanted to portray the internet and technology in the way that you actually use it today, which is one of the reasons it's super, super accurate. And overall, I think, if you look at Facebook PSAs or Instagram messages or every Black Mirror episode, technology often gets such a bad rap online. It's just it's alienating us, it's making us obsessed with our phones, it's we're addicted to our social media and all that stuff. And I think while that is true, that's looking at one slice of the pie and saying this is the whole pie. Or it's looking at a hammer and saying hammer is bad, whereas as opposed to saying hammer is bad, hammer is good, a hammer is. And I think this movie, what it tries to do is just zoom out a little bit and say, hey, technology can be used for scary elements. Technology can be where strangers are hiding, but technology can also be where someone is reaching out with a hand or someone is trying to help. And I think that ultimately is why we kind of came here, is because we found an opportunity in the telling of the story to get people who are in the tech industry to help. I think the film is obviously about a kid who goes missing, and what we wanted to do was, and so much of the movie is about parents becoming mindful about the access that their kids have to the world, to the internet at large. And what we wanted to do is, and what we're doing now with Sony and with TechCrunch, is sort of working with their global hackathon to sort of create a challenge to any creators or engineers or developers to, use the internet at large and use your tools to come up with an idea that can maybe make more parents more mindful of the activities of their kids or protect minors online. It has a $10,000 prize, I think, for the idea that ends up winning this thing, and we'll announce it at TechCrunch Disrupt, I think, later this year. But we came here to be technology is good, and I think the intention of everybody who makes these tools is so positive, and it's so often just twisted. And maybe this is my ex-Google employee speaking in me, but I think we have an opportunity to still address some of the negative aspects of it, and that's why we came here and ask for your guys' help.
Fantastic. So just to summarize again, because it's a great opportunity for everyone in the room, who are you partnering with, and what is the competition and the prize?
Yeah, so we are partnering with TechCrunch's Global Hackathon. And basically, we're announcing it right now, and then it kind of goes up until TechCrunch Disrupt, where the winner will be announced. But I guess the prompt is for anyone to create a tool, and ideally in a Chrome extension, which makes it accessible to everybody, or the most amount of people, I think, to either help protect minors online, or to just make parents more mindful, or all of us more mindful of what our kids are doing in some either minor or a major way. And whichever idea that I think we end up picking as the winner gets $10,000, which I wish I knew what I was doing online, because I could do that, participate as well.
Amazing opportunity, amazing. Michelle, social media, does it play a big part in your life at the moment? And what date is the film out?
I'm sorry,
what date is the film release?
Oh, the film comes out August 3rd in the States and continues in August and September
Great.
worldwide.
And social media, will that be a big part of the way you market and promote the film?
Yes, I'm doing whatever I can. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, yeah.
Great, excellent, fantastic. And we're just coming to the last part of the panel now, but are there any particular takeaways that people want the audience and those watching at home to be left with? Any last messages?
Last questions or last feelings?
Both.
Well, I mean, I think we've kind of touched upon it a little today. Is like, I think, every single day that there's a new app released or a new website that launches, like, there is a little bit of, like, connectivity that happens between people and something. And basically what John was mentioning earlier is like, and something that I completely agree with, is that this movie would not have been able to be made 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. A movie is made right now. And like every single app that's used in the movie in a weird way, like if you think about like, I don't know, Postmates or Uber Eats becoming a thing, like it allows us to get food. But like underneath that, there is like so many things that you can say about laziness. There's so many things that you can say about ease. There's so many things that you can say about, like, you can make all of these emotional connections basically. And I think what our movie is doing is using the internet at large and all of the buttons, the share buttons, the delete trash buttons, the close window buttons, the send email buttons, and finding the emotion underneath it to frame a narrative at large. And I think like hopefully what people walk away with is that like total feeling of like, I know a language that I never even knew that I knew, and I didn't know I knew it this well. On top of it being hopefully a thriller that makes you kind of keep guessing and stuff.
John?
Forgive me if you've heard me say this already, but there is something that I'd like to highlight, and it would be amazing if it didn't even occur to you, but it's the fact that it's an all Asian American family on screen. And, we premiered the movie at Sundance, and I was not prepared myself for how momentous it would feel to me. But to share that, for everyone to see this loving Korean American family on screen was really, it felt like a culmination of many years of work for myself, and I just felt so thankful, and it was, and the fact that it didn't matter, the fact that it's possible that your children will see it and not even give it a second thought is the greatest reward possible.
Yeah, we wrote the script with John Cho in mind. In the script, there was always David Kim, and we believe that there are movies out there that are about representation, that are about diversity, and those movies should absolutely exist. This is not one of them. This is a movie about a universal family, like all of our families, and it just happens to star an Asian American cast. And every now and then, when we'd be getting asked or challenged, why does it have to be Asian? Our response is always a very simple: why not? Why not?
Good answer, good answer. And just lastly, to find out some more information about that competition, where can people go? Are you going to be putting it on your social media, or is there a particular place to find out some more information?
I think we'll start having press out today online, and then it'll be, I think, through the TechCrunch hackathon website. The prompts are all up there and stuff.
Right. So it was 10,000.
10,000.
10,000.
10,000.
That's my haircut budget for a month.
Yeah. And a great opportunity.
That's like triple how much we made the movie for. So, no.
A great opportunity to be part of the solution. So do look out for that opportunity. Do make sure that you check out the film when it is in cinemas and movie theatres. I will definitely be seeing it again. Thank you so much to the cast.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
you. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us.